You wake up one morning, look in the mirror, and feel a strange disconnect. Like you're staring at a stranger. Your life is full, your schedule packed, your roles well defined, yet deep down something feels off. It's as if you've been running on autopilot, following a script you never actually wrote. But here's the question that changes everything. What if the version of you that the world sees isn't actually you? And if that's true, then where or who is the real you? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the hidden forces that shape your identity and, more importantly, how to break free. Because real life doesn't start when you're successful, admired, or comfortable. It begins the moment you finally find yourself. If you're serious about your personal health, whether you want to stop suffering, get clear guidance on how to stop overthinking, or to be more present in life, now's the perfect time to subscribe to our channel. Like this video if you're ready to grow further as a person. Now, let's continue. How often do you feel like you're just playing a role, living according to a script written by society, by your upbringing, or by the fears that whisper in the background of your mind? Today, we embark on an exploration of one of Eckhart Tolle's most profound insights. The idea that true life begins when we awaken from the unconscious patterns that keep us trapped in false identities. But what does it mean to awaken? Is it merely about gaining self-awareness, or is there a deeper, more transformative process at play? Stay with me, because as we uncover the hidden forces that shape your identity, you will come to see why most people never truly find themselves and how you can break free. The final realization we will discuss is the most powerful of all. It has the potential to shift not only the way you see yourself, but also the very way you engage with the world. Eckhart Tolle, the author of The Power of Now and a New Earth, teaches that most people live in a state of unconscious identification with their thoughts and emotions. They believe that their mind is who they are, but in reality, the mind is just a tool, one that often runs on autopilot, shaping a false sense of identity. This false sense of identity, this false self or ego, is built from past experiences, fears, and societal conditioning. But here's the reality. Most people never question this identity. They remain trapped in a cycle of thinking, worrying, and reacting without ever realizing that they are not their thoughts. They seek validation from the outside world, believing that happiness comes from approval, success, or fitting in. Yet deep down, there is a quiet unrest, an unshakable sense that something is missing. Tolle teaches that true life begins when we stop identifying with our mind and instead become present. But before we can talk about what it truly means to find yourself, we must first understand what prevents most people from ever doing so. From the moment we enter the world, we are conditioned. We are given names, identities, and predefined roles. We are taught what is acceptable and what is not, what is rewarded and what is punished. This process is so subtle and gradual that we rarely question it. We adapt, we conform, and over time, we learn to suppress parts of ourselves that don't align with the expectations placed upon us. Think back to your childhood. Were there moments when you expressed yourself freely, only to be met with disapproval? Perhaps you were told to be realistic, to stop being too sensitive, or that certain too sensitive, or that certain emotions and desires were inappropriate. Slowly, you learned to hide those parts of yourself, to tuck them away when no one could see them. And in doing so, you began to build a mask. What Tolle refers to as the egoic mind is the identity we construct from thoughts, past experiences, and external influences. It allows us to function in society, to navigate relationships, and to gain acceptance. But here's the problem. The more we identify with this mental construct, the more we lose touch with our real selves. We begin to believe that we are our thoughts, forgetting that there is something deeper beneath them. And then there's the other side of the coin, the pain, body, If the ego is the false self, we show the world. The pain body is the accumulation of unresolved emotional wounds we carry. It consists of everything we have rejected or suppressed within ourselves. Our fears, our unspoken desires, our vulnerabilities, and even our hidden strengths. And here's where it gets even more profound. The pain body doesn't just disappear. It doesn't vanish simply because we refuse to look at it. Instead, it operates beneath the surface, influencing our thoughts, our behaviors, and even our emotional reactions. The parts of ourselves that we reject don't go away. They manifest in unconscious ways, often in the form of emotional reactivity and suffering. Have you ever intensely disliked someone without fully understanding why? Have you ever been triggered by certain behaviors in others that seem to provoke a strong emotional reaction? Tolle teaches that when we are disturbed by qualities in other people, it is often because those very qualities exist within us, hidden in our unconscious. But what if I told you that within the pain, body lies the key to true self-discovery? That the parts of yourself you've suppressed and ignored are not your enemies, but rather the missing pieces of your wholeness. Tolle's great insight is this: spiritual growth is not about eliminating the pain body. It is about becoming fully present and allowing it to dissolve. It is about looking into the depths of your own unconscious and facing what you have denied. Because when you do, you unlock a profound source of personal power, authenticity, and freedom. This is where the real journey begins. Are you ready to confront the truth of who you are, to break free from the illusions that have shaped you? Because what comes next will challenge everything you thought you knew about yourself, and it will open the door to a life that is truly yours. Most people go through life believing that they already know who they are. They define themselves by their name, their job, their culture, their past experiences. But what if I told you that your identity is far more complex than you realize? That the self you believe yourself to be is just a surface-level construct, a fraction of a much deeper, more profound reality. Eckhart Tolle teaches that true freedom begins when we stop identifying with the thinking mind and instead recognize the stillness underneath it. The ego, with all its fears and attachments, creates suffering by constantly projecting into the past and future. But the real you, the part of you that is untouched by fear, self-doubt, and external conditioning, exists in the present moment. And the key to truly finding yourself is not in constructing a new identity, but in uncovering what has been buried within you. Let's take a moment to reflect. Have you ever felt a deep, unexplainable longing for something more? A sense that there is a greater version of yourself waiting to emerge? This is not just imagination. It is the voice of your unconscious mind calling you to something greater. Eckhart Tolle referred to this process as awakening. He believed that true fulfillment comes not from conforming to external expectations, but from integrating all aspects of ourselves: the good, the bad, the light, and the dark. The bad, the light, and the dark. But before we can integrate these parts, we must first confront them. And this is where most people stop. Why? Because facing yourself is uncomfortable. It requires looking at aspects of your personality that you have long ignored. It demands that you question long-held beliefs, challenge your fears, and confront the inner conflicts that have shaped your life. Think about it. How often do we avoid silence? How often do we distract ourselves with work, social media, entertainment, or anything that keeps us from sitting alone with our thoughts? This constant distraction is not accidental. It is a defense mechanism, a way of avoiding the deeper questions that linger beneath the surface. But no matter how much we try to avoid them, these hidden aspects of ourselves do not go away. They show up in unexpected ways, through anxiety, self-sabotage, unfulfilling relationships, or a persistent feeling of being lost. Tolle believed that our unconscious mind is always speaking to us, but we have learned to ignore its messages. However, if we start paying attention, we begin to see patterns. We begin to notice how our deepest wounds influence our choices, how our suppressed desires shape our behaviors, and how the things we fear most often hold the greatest lessons. Let's consider a simple yet powerful example: fear of rejection. Many people go through life terrified of being judged or abandoned. They seek approval, avoid conflict, and suppress their true thoughts to maintain harmony. But where does this fear come from? Is it really about the opinions of others, or does it stem from something deeper? Perhaps an old wound, an experience from childhood, a moment when they felt unseen or unworthy. Tolle would argue that this fear is not just an emotion. It is a shadow aspect of the self that has not been fully acknowledged. Until it is brought into the light, it will continue to control one's actions from behind the scenes. But here's the incredible thing. When we finally face these hidden parts of ourselves, they lose their power over us. Imagine for a moment what it would feel like to live without fear of judgment, to speak your truth without hesitation, to make decisions not based on what others expect, but on what resonates deeply within you. This is the power of awakening. It is not about becoming someone new. It is about becoming more of who you truly are. But how do we begin? How do we uncover the unconscious forces that shape our lives? Tolle believed that one of the most powerful ways to access the unconscious is through presence, stillness, and self-awareness. He saw the present moment as a gateway to deeper self-understanding, revealing hidden truths about our psyche. He also emphasized the importance of letting go of egoic attachments, the false identities we cling to in order to feel secure, as a way of accessing and integrating the unconscious mind. But perhaps the most important step is simply this: awareness. The moment you begin to question your thoughts, your reactions, and your deeply held beliefs, you are already taking the first steps toward transformation. The moment you stop running from discomfort and start facing it with curiosity, you begin to reclaim your true self. Because here's the truth. Most people live their entire lives as strangers to themselves. They follow the paths laid out for them, never realizing that they have the power to choose something different. They suppress their true nature, never realizing that their greatest strength lies in embracing all that they are. But you don't have to be one of those people. You have the power to break free from the illusions that have held you back, to shed the layers of conditioning and fear that have kept you from experiencing life fully, to step into the fullness of who you are, unafraid and unapologetic. And in the next part, we are going to explore something even more profound: the hidden archetypes within you. These ancient patterns, buried deep in your psyche, hold the key to unlocking your greatest potential. What you are about to learn may change the way you see yourself forever. If the journey to finding yourself were as simple as making a decision, everyone would already be living in complete alignment with their true nature. But as we've seen, the process is far more complex. It is not just about choosing who we want to be. It is about uncovering the forces that have shaped us, facing the parts of ourselves we have rejected, and integrating them into a whole, authentic identity. But here's a question. Why do we feel drawn to certain behaviors, desires, or fears? Why do we repeat the same mistakes or fall into the same patterns, even when we try to change? Eckhart Tolle's answer was revolutionary. He believed that within every human being there exist universal patterns, deep-rooted psychological blueprints that influence our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors in ways we often do not fully understand. He called these patterns the pain body. Tolle argued that the pain body is a collection of past emotional wounds stored in our consciousness, a level of the psyche shared by all human beings, inherited from both personal experience and collective human suffering. These patterns shape our personal identity, our relationships, and even the way we perceive the world. Think about the stories, that have been told throughout history. The hero's journey, the wise mentor, the shadowy villain, the innocent child. These characters appear in myths, religions, literature, and even in our dreams. They are not just fictional. They represent psychological forces that exist within all of us. And whether we realize it or not, these patterns are constantly at play in our lives. For example, consider the hero archetype. This is the part of you that longs for purpose, that feels called to something greater. It is the part of you that seeks to overcome obstacles, grow stronger, and achieve a higher version of yourself. But this archetype does not exist in isolation. It is always accompanied by the shadow. Eckhart Tolle teaches that the shadow represents the unconscious patterns that control us. The pain body, as he calls it. It is the accumulation of unresolved emotions, conditioned thoughts, and past experiences that keep us trapped in cycles of suffering. In myths, the hero must confront the shadow, often symbolized as a monster, an enemy, or a great challenge, before they can truly evolve. Now, let's bring this into real life. Have you ever had a moment when you knew you needed to change, but something inside you resisted? A time when you had the opportunity to step into a greater version of yourself, but fear, doubt, or self-sabotage held you back, or self-sabotage held you back. This is the battle between the hero and the shadow playing out within you. The mistake most people make is trying to suppress their pain, body, instead of becoming present with it. Tolle teaches that true transformation happens not by rejecting our shadow, but by bringing awareness to it. Let's say you struggle with self-doubt. Instead of ignoring it or pretending it doesn't exist, Tolle would encourage you to observe it without identifying with it. Where does this self-doubt come from? Is it truly yours, or was it planted in you by past experiences, societal expectations, or the voices of others? What happens if you simply become present with it, without judgment? When we begin to see our struggles, not as weaknesses, but as unconscious patterns arising in the present moment, everything changes. But archetypes go beyond just the hero and the shadow. There are many other forces within us, each with its own role in shaping our identity. One of the most powerful is the balance between masculine and feminine energies within us. Tolle speaks about these energies within us. Tolle speaks about these energies not in a gendered sense, but as universal principles. The feminine energy represents intuition, presence, receptivity, and creativity. The masculine energy represents action, structure, focus, and discipline. When these two forces are in balance, a person feels whole. But when they are out of balance, inner conflict arises. For example, a man who rejects his feminine energy may struggle with stillness, fearing vulnerability as weakness. A woman who rejects her masculine energy may struggle with assertiveness, feeling hesitant to take control of her own life. But when these energies are embraced, rather than suppressed, they become a source of immense strength. This leads us to one of the most important insights Eckhart Tolle shares. To find yourself, you must step beyond thought. True self-discovery is not about constructing a new identity. It is about realizing the formless awareness that has always been present. But there is one final piece to this puzzle, one last revelation that ties everything together, and it is perhaps the most powerful of all. Because the greatest obstacle to finding yourself is not just fear, or self-doubt, or external conditioning. It is something far deeper, something hidden in the very fabric of how we perceive reality itself. And in the next part, we are going to uncover it. What you are about to hear will challenge everything you thought you knew about yourself, and it may just change your life forever. Throughout this journey, we have explored the hidden forces shaping your identity, the masks you wear, the shadow you suppress, and the energies influencing your thoughts and behaviors. But now, we must confront the deepest illusion of all, the illusion of self. You see, most people go through life assuming that their identity is fixed, that they are a single unchanging self, that moves through time, shaped by memories and experiences. But Eckhart Tolle along with many great spiritual teachers, understood something radical. The self that you identify with, the ego, is not who you truly are. It is a collection of thoughts, conditioned responses, and past experiences. The real you is something far beyond that. What if the version of you that you identify with right now is only a fragment of something much larger? What if the person you think you are is just one expression of pure consciousness, temporarily taking on this form? Tolle teaches this idea through the concept of presence, not the small, ego-driven self that clings to labels and fears, but the deeper self that exists beyond mental constructs. And this realization is both liberating and terrifying, because it means that everything you have believed yourself to be, all the fears, the limitations, the stories you tell yourself, is not the full truth. It is merely a construct, a temporary framework built by the mind. Here's the most powerful truth of all. You are not just a single isolated being moving through life. You are awareness itself, experiencing form. The suffering, the doubt, the fear. The doubt, the fear, they only exist when you are lost in identification with thought. The moment you become present, the illusion collapses. But if this is true, then why do we feel so limited? Why do we experience suffering, doubt, and fear? The answer lies in the mind's attachment to identity. The ego is not the enemy. It is simply a tool for navigating the world. But when we mistake it for who we truly are, it becomes the greatest obstacle to self-discovery. Because in truth, you are not limited to a single identity. You are not your past, your name, or your roles. You are something far beyond that. But how do you realize this? How do you step beyond the illusion of self and into the fullness of your existence? Tolle offers a path, one that requires deep awareness, surrender, and a willingness to be fully present in the now. First, embrace stillness. Most people fear stillness because it represents emptiness, but emptiness is where transformation happens. It is where your true nature is revealed. When you stop resisting the silence within you and instead embrace it, you awaken to something beyond the mind. Second, release attachment to thought. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that observes them. When you stop identifying with every mental narrative, you create space for something greater to emerge. You create space for something greater to emerge. Third, watch the pain, body without feeding it. Your emotional reactions are not personal. They are simply energy patterns stored in the body. When you observe them with awareness, they lose their power over you. And finally, surrender to the present moment. Finding yourself is not a destination. It is not something you achieve through effort. It is the realization of what has always been here, beyond the mind's distractions. And here's the ultimate revelation. You were never truly lost. The self you have been seeking has been within you all along, waiting to be remembered. The only thing that was ever missing was your presence. So now, the choice is yours. Will you continue living as a fragment of who you truly are, bound by old fears and mental constructs? Or will you step into the present moment where freedom and wholeness await? Because life does not truly begin until you wake up from the illusion of self. And now you know the way. Let's keep growing together on this path of self-discovery. Subscribe to our channel for daily inspiration and grow as a person. Comment the word "now" and like the video to show your support. Also, consider sharing this video with someone who could use some encouragement to slow down and enjoy life more fully.